Good afternoon, and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, investment analyst, economist, and venture capitalist, Morty Davis is Wall Street and capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical political, economic, and social issues facing our world today. Joining Mr. Davis today to discuss the outcome of the 2024 presidential election is Len Carter. Len is an investment banker, business consultant, and private investor. And now, Mr. Davis and Mr. Carter.
Welcome back. It's Wednesday, or it must be Wednesday, 6:30, because that's when I join you for the weekly podcast where we deal with all the current issues, the news, the politics, the madness, the depressions of the news. And so we're back at that juncture. I love that you all join me as cohorts for this session every week. I love you. You really help make the podcast much more than it would be without your involvement, because you send me all kind of criticisms and suggestions, some of which initially may rub me the wrong way, but I do learn a lot from him, from your thoughts and your input, and it gets me to think and even change my views. So thank you. It's educational, and it's really most instructive and useful. But as we discussed almost every week, the news and the civics that we discuss every week, and the politics and events that are reportable as news are very depressing. And if anything, while we discuss it, it's very hard to be upbeat without feeling bad about the behavior of some of the politicians, some of our leaders, some of the divisiveness between all of us. So before I start dealing with the depressing issues of the news and get everybody in a sour mood and in a depressed mood, I want to give you a word of advice on how to be happy, because I love you, and nothing is more important to me than to make you, my precious, cherished cohorts, podcast sharers, happy. Not only you, but to the extent that I could, I'd like to make every person in this world happier. So, having said that, I'd like to start off by giving you at least one suggestion, one word of guidance, how to be happier. And this is not a suggestion. You see, I have my captain's hat on. I'm the captain of this podcast.
Order. Not a suggestion, it's an order.
It's a charge. I'm charging you, right? Like the captain of the ship charges. So I'm charging you that from now on, the rest of your life, whatever happens, be optimistic and smile and look forward to the future with hope, with excitement, with enthusiasm, even though at this given moment, your mind might be pushing you to be immersed in the aggravation that just hit you the disappointment, the failure, the losses. So please stay upbeat, be happy, look forward. It's a much better way to deal with life. As a matter of fact, it also helps if I'm not preaching religion, but it does help if you have God on your side, as my kids do, and they believe everything that God does is right, and God will be there to help them no matter what goes on. And so it does help them to be happier. So I want you to have that same feeling. Believe in the future. Look to the future with hope. Smile. People will always like you better if you face them with a smile, because it's contagious. It's like smiling is catching. And not only that, it costs you nothing. It's very much like the light you put on in the library. It doesn't take anything away from you. It makes it much easier for you to read, but at the same time, lets you share that light with others without any cost to you. So stay upbeat, stay enthusiastic, stay optimistic, and you'll be happier. And if you want to ensure that your happiness is guaranteed, I wrote a book with my daughter that suggests many ideas and even many jokes on how to be happy. And it's from the feedback I've gotten so far from people who bought the book or got it as gifts or read it. It's helped them to be happier. And so in an effort to induce you to acquire the book, with no downside risk and only upside. If you acquire this book and have the same experience as all the others that have reached out to me, not one person that acquired the book either through gift or purchase or whatever, or read the book, has failed when they called me to thank me and say how much it's uplifted their life, what a difference it's made. They stayed up till all hours of the night absorbing it. So to induce you to get the book, I will give you the best deal ever. Unless you thoroughly enjoy the book and find that it helps guarantee your happiness, the subtitle is How to Be Happy No Matter What. You'll find that that's true. This book will do that for you. But there's a possibility that you're the one in a million that may not feel the same way, may not appreciate it. You might pick it up at a time when you're not conducive or receptive to being in a good mood. If you find that it doesn't give you the happiness I promised you, I will not only refund your purchase price, send me a copy of your purchase slip, and I will refund not only your cost, but double what you paid, and you still could retain the book. So please, get the book for your sake, not for my sake. I'm not keeping any of the proceeds from the sale. I'm giving it all to charity to make other people happy, hopefully. So now, without further ado, I told you how to be happy. just do that. It's not, I'm pleading with you to do that or asking you to do that. As your captain, I'm charging you, and if you don't listen, you're in big trouble.
You'll be court-martialed.
Yeah, be caught. That was
dishonorably discharged.
that was Len Carter, who I introduce every week as brilliant, a graduate from the same elite top graduate school in the United States, Graduate School of Business, the Harvard Business School. And he got, like me, he graduated with distinction, with top honors, after he went to a top Ivy League school, Cornell, where he earned a master's in electrical engineering. And after that, went on to one of the other really great schools, graduate schools in the United States, Stanford University, and got another advanced degree in electrical engineering. So he's a real genius, and it's my pleasure and privilege to have me join him, have him join me, and in this program as often as I can. He's not cheap, but he's worth every penny. Len, you want to get on to the major
thank you, Morty.
issues?
Good to be here. So we've been talking about this day for a long time now, wondering what it will bring, how it will bring.
Thank God we finally got to it.
And I've had enough of those political TV ads. Basically every single ad on TV the last couple of weeks has been it's good news for the networks, I guess, but we can recite most of them by memory. And here we are. So I guess thanks to some of the voting improvements and streamlining that some states did in the last 4 years, like Georgia and Pennsylvania, they have been able to more quickly come to a closer answer than it took last time. And I guess in some races, not as tight as they originally thought. It turns out Trump sweeps basically all the swing states, which I don't think anyone would have predicted a day ago that he would sweep all of those states. And he himself probably surprised. So let's just start with a big picture kind of thought. Question is, what if anything surprised you about the outcome? I know last week we talked and we ended the show with predictions. You thought that Kamala Harris would win because of the woman vote on abortion. And like we saw in the 2022 midterm elections, that was a big issue. I thought maybe issues that are more kitchen table type of issues like inflation, economy, and things like that, that might be bode better for Donald Trump. So what do you think? Are you surprised that, given what you thought about women, that it didn't turn out that way?
I'm very surprised by the outcome, by the overwhelming victory that Trump achieved, Trump and his people and his followers, and that he won in a sense, although not all the results are in, but it looks like for sure he won the presidency, the Electoral College vote. He seems to have taken control, or his party, the MAGA party, or what's left of the Republican Party, will have over the next 4 years, control of I think over the next 4 years. That may be.
Well, the midterm elections, but definitely over the next two.
Yeah.
The midterm elections are 2 years from now.
Yeah. For the immediate future and possibly for the next 4 years. Control of the Senate, which is a big deal, especially once you're the president. And it's too close to call, but he may very well gain control of the House of Representatives.
Well, they already have a slight majority in the House. They probably will keep it or maybe increase it.
Or it's still open.
I mean, the Democrats had to flip 7 seats or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not looking great that's going to happen.
It's not finalized.
Yeah. But it's not looking great.
So it's the closest thing to a mandate, he rolled over the Democrats in every possible way. There might be a couple of surprises where the Democrats prevailed in spite of the fabulous, overwhelming.
There's one seat in Long Island, Laura Gillum overturned Esposito up for a congressional seat. That was a flip, but
yeah, and there's a Jewish guy in North Carolina, Stein, who won the
gubernatorial race. Yeah,
was a governor, the governorship.
Yep.
Even though Trump won the state.
Yeah.
Presidential vote. So there were a few positive, but very few positive surprises for the Democrats. And right now, in light of what happened yesterday, the Democrats are left literally without any leadership because Biden is passé. He's still president, but he has no,
he's lame duck and he's out of it.
He has no mandate,
Right.
no base that voted for him. Kamala is a clear loser, a major disappointment. I would be surprised if she isn't devastated and even suicidal, because she did a good job, I thought, campaigning. She definitely overwhelmingly won the debate with Trump.
How do you think?
But the Democrats have no leadership.
Yeah.
Kamala is not the leader.
Well, I mean, she was a senator. Now she's not a senator, and she's not going to be a vice president. So after January 20th.
And she doesn't have any leadership role.
So after January 20th, when Trump's and Vance are sworn in, that's it. She's gone. She doesn't go back to even being, becoming a senator again. She could, I guess, run again, but I don't think so.
She's not a political leader.
Right.
The Democrats are really...
So this is like the third or fourth election that this has happened. Polls are just wrong. You know, um, I know. In 2022, you expected it to be wrong because of the impact that the overturning of Roe versus Wade would have, and that weren't surprised when the Democrats or the Republicans didn't do as well as they thought they were going to do. But
I was one of the prognosticators who called for or predicted a Democratic victory based on the strong feeling of women, that more women voters, and that was at the time when Roe Wade being defeated.
Right. It was still fresh in people's minds.
By the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So I think that in that case, in my view, Trump and the Supreme Court justices, at least 3 or 4.
But what do the pollsters, what do they get wrong? All the polls were saying it's way too close to call, razor thin. It wasn't really razor thin. I think my thought is that it's just too hard to get an accurate, good sample, because even if you can somehow, get a proper sample where you're not oversampling Republicans or oversampling Democrats, I don't think people tell the truth. They don't. It's not like when they're asked, well, who are you voting for? There's a lot of people who don't like to admit who they're voting for whatever reason.
Also, the pollsters have no idea who's going to show up. In other words, in this campaign,
right? They ask people, "Are you going to vote?" But they don't know.
But a major influence in Trump's favor was the young people's support he got, which was very, very impressive and very surprising. And also the fact that she got an overwhelming number of black, of African American males to vote for her, but way less than Obama got.
Or Biden. Right.
So,
I think that was Trump's secret sauce, is that he still got a small group of African Americans to vote relative to the amount that voted for Democrat, but it was just a little more. So he made some inroads,
or a little less to
the Democrat, but he got a little more.
Carmela.
Right, a little less to the Democrats, a little bit more. So he made some inroads. He managed to pull a few of those voters over.
Yeah, and the polls those can't.
And in the really, really red rural counties where Trump is very strong, he got even a little stronger. And what they were saying over and over again last night, rather they were reviewing the results coming in, was that the Democrats do traditionally very well in cities and the urban areas, and then the suburbs are toss-ups, and then rural areas generally Trump's is very, very solid. So but the cities have so many more people. So he when you look at the map of Georgia and they show county by county in color, it's like all red except a few counties of blue. But those blue counties have a huge number of people. So the Democrats have to win big in those counties because there's so many other little counties out there that the Republicans are sweeping hugely. And so the Trump requirement is you gotta rack it up in all those rural counties a lot to make up for the losses you're going to face in Atlanta and Atlanta suburbs and some of the other.
Yeah, but surprisingly, I think the two most liberal states in the nation are California and New York.
Yeah.
And both of those states voted for Trump for president.
Not California and New York both.
Both voted, gave their electoral.
No, California went to Harris and New York went to Harris. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten the votes she got. California.
I must have watched the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, the last time a Republican won California or New York was I don't know, maybe Reagan in '84. No, Harris got 100.
Why did I see that? I was surprised.
No. But one thing that did happen in New York is that I think it was only 55-45. And in New Jersey, the Democrats won by 5 points. That's it. New Jersey went blue. It went as it's pretty much always done, and it went for Harris, but by a 5-point margin.
And how about New York? Presidential electoral vote.
These are the battleground states.
We're still on. Don't think we abandoned you. It's just researching the apparent mistake that I've proposed or introduced.
So Harris got 55.8% and Trump 44.2%. So she got the
of New York,
28 electoral votes
of New York.
Yeah, I mean.
And what about California?
California. That was more Democratic. California 57.3 to 40.1. That's 54 electoral votes. I mean, otherwise she wouldn't have gotten. And where else did she win? A few tiny states in the Northeast, Vermont, those states, Maryland. Trump got all, and she didn't get any of the swing states.
I don't know how I saw that, but I was surprised when I saw it.
Yeah, no, that would have been. That's like a Reagan landslide. but what is surprising is the closeness, right? I mean, 55-45 in New York. I mean, that's really close. And New Jersey, went by
California.
And even California, 60-40. I mean,
they're both very liberal.
Right.
States.
That's a decent margin, but not 80-20. Or it's like so. I think it shows you can't put any bank on the pollsters. In fact, you can probably bet more on the stock market, because if you look at DJT, his public company, Trump Media, that thing was rallying in the days up to the election, which, and I think some of the Vegas, were leaning toward Trump. So markets certainly were thinking
Trump is at the height of his life, of his achievement, of his business success, of his wealth, because this media company is worth his share billions of dollars, probably more than
hypothetically.
No, I'm saying hypothetically.
Right, you have to find $4 billion of buyers if he ever wanted to sell his position.
I think he could do that. Now that he's president, he's got everything going from Putin will give him whatever he wants to build there. The Saudis will give. Is the number one leader in the world by far, more than anybody in the past.
So let's talk about who do you think, were the winners and losers? Like Ukraine. Zelensky congratulated Trump on Twitter earlier after he won, saying, I hope we can work together to come to a peaceful resolution or something. So if I was Zelensky, I'd be pretty nervous now because, Trump, he's got from now until his inauguration to solve the Ukraine problem because he said he was going to do it even before he became president.
Right.
So let's see if he can do that.
But Trump implies that he could get it settled.
Well,
but the settlement requires him to give Putin much of what
that
he
part he didn't exactly go into details for. My guess is I agree that I do think you can solve Ukraine, not to the satisfaction of the Ukrainians, but if you said to Putin, here's what I think is going to happen. Trump's going to say, he's going to go to Putin and is going to say, how about we give you, it's a deal. Right? We're going to make a deal. We'll give you Donbass, we'll give you Crimea.
Whatever territory.
Right. We're not giving you the whole country, though.
No.
We'll give you
whatever
a piece.
Territory you want.
And we'll say that they won't go, and they'll agree not to go into NATO.
Right.
And then Putin will say, okay. And then he's going to go to Ukraine and say, this is the deal. Now, Ukraine may say, okay, but I'm not so sure they're going to say okay because they believe so they may say no, in which case Trump says, all right, then I'm not going to give any more weapons. Sure. And then the country will collapse and just be like a guerrilla war forever.
Trump would make it clear to what's his name? Zelensky. That if you don't go along,
right? But that doesn't mean he will. I mean,
he got no option.
Well, yeah, he does.
What is he going to get?
Not say no.
He's going to get weapons from
China? It'll just be like a guerrilla. The Ukrainians will just fight from basements and throw rocks and I mean that
without the
a guerrilla
without the backing of the U.S.
Oh, I'm not saying that. No, I agree. They will fall, but it doesn't mean that that it's not that easy to control a country of tens of millions of people who don't want you there.
I agree with that.
And so it'll just be like a series of vile. They'll take over what they thought they were going to do from the beginning. Displace the government, put in a puppet government. Zelensky's gone. The Russian puppets in there, and then they are just constantly in a state of disruption because there'll be an underground who's fighting against the Russians.
Wrong, but I believe it would settle quickly.
Right. So then, what you think the Ukrainian people will just roll over?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. They'll settle for what they have.
I think they're more prideful. I think they're going to say no. It's all.
They don't have any option without.
Well, but they don't see it that way. They don't see it that way. They would rather just keep fighting.
Okay.
We'll see. That's my guess.
When you give people a deal that they can't turn down.
Well, but I mean, up until now, Zelensky's been saying we're not going to settle for anything less than Russian withdrawal.
Doesn't matter what he says.
I mean, he does have. That's because he's got weapons, so he can keep saying that.
Doesn't matter what he says. When the weapons stop coming,
then he is going to be
it has to deal
pushed
with
out.
Reality.
Yeah. So I would put Ukraine in the loser column.
Absolutely.
How about Israel? I think this is good for Israel. Trump is going to be much more supportive, and
Israel believes that. With Trump, you're never sure. And I think Jared Kushner will be back in the mix with respect to Israel. I would be surprised if he doesn't give more backing to the Jewish segment of American society, of the political power of the Zionists in America, or what's it called, the powerful, where all of the top senators and presidents come to speak to the group. Very, very pro-Israel group. I gotta forget the name of it. I have a lot of friends that are on.
so I think that's. I'm sure Netanyahu is pleased. How about the top 1% of people in the country? I'd put them in the win column.
Absolutely. The only thing he promised of all the programs, of all the policies, is he's going to cut taxes for the rich.
Right. I mean, he also said he would eliminate taxes on Social Security, on tips, and on overtime. So, manufacturing workers who rely a lot on tips or overtime or both could benefit. That could be a big increase. If a large part of your income's from overtime, and a lot of people it is, or tips, service workers, that's effectively a big pay increase.
I would never second guess Trump because he was genius enough to win in, what was it, 2006?
2016, yeah. What?
By determining, by realizing what a major, decisive issue was in the electorate, with the issue of illegal immigration. There was never that big a deal, and that's what won him the election. In my view, in 2000, until this day, it's one of the major issues. So he was smart enough even to realize when a bipartisan law passed to hire more.
Yeah, kill it.
To foreclose more illegal immigrants.
Yeah, but Trump had, told his guys to kill it.
Right.
Because if they didn't, then that issue could go away.
No, not only
for an election.
It would be a plus for.
Right. Not only go away, but help him. That's true. That's true. How about any others? Corporations, I guess. He wants to lower the corporate tax rate from wherever 21 now to 15. That's a big plus.
Usually, the Republicans in general are overwhelmingly supportive of the top corporations and the top 1%, and with Musk on board, even more so.
But that's where I think Trump was pretty smart in terms of just creating his own platform of populism and not conservatism. Because when in the past would any conservative platform include not taxing tips or overtime or something like that? Here or that's how you get. Or in general, when would manufacturing workers, union workers, support Republicans who generally are historically not supportive of those types of workers or unions as the Democrats have been. I think what really killed the Democratic race for the Democrats this time was not defining a set of policies that define them to be that enough different from Biden. Like when Kamala Harris went on The View and they asked her, what would you have done differently than Joe did?
She said nothing.
I can't think of anything.
Right.
That's not a good answer.
They said that hurt her.
That's not a good answer. You know?
But
it's hard.
It was the right answer because
right.
The economy was working well. You know, for the last 50 years almost, without exception, the statement, "It's the economy stupid."
Yeah, that's true.
Has been, or "follow the money" is another one.
Yeah. Which I think is why I was never as convinced as you about women and their passion toward reproductive rights, because I think at the end of the day, more people, definitely, I mean, every single person in the country is affected by price level and inflation. Every single person. But not every single person is affected by reproductive rights for women, not affected by, whether, transgender inmates should have surgeries.
I agree with your view.
And so it's the kitchen. It's always that. It's what gets people. And when they were interviewing, people in the exit polls, and they're like, well, why'd you vote for Trump? What was the big issue? Inflation, economy, job. It's like, and unfortunately, I'm not so sure. We've discussed this on other shows. Like, inflation's been a global issue, not just a U.S. issue. In fact, inflation might actually have been lower in the U.S. than elsewhere.
It has been.
So, but people have to blame somebody, right? And I think Trump was brilliant in taking a page from Reagan's playbook. I remember, because it was one of the first elections I voted in. Carter, Reagan. And this was the late 70s. Carter came in 76. Late 70s was a bad time, stagflation and gas price. It was just bad. And
Reagan came in.
Reagan came in 1980, shining star, shining city on the hill, very upbeat, which is a little different from Trump's view of the world's ending. But he did say, which really resonated with people, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? That's exactly what Trump's been saying, and his campaign's been saying, because that's, that really resonates with people, and very few people can answer yes to that question. Now, that doesn't mean, is that really Biden's fault that you're not better off today than you were 4 years ago? Was it really Carter's fault that, OPEC caused a huge disruption in oil prices in the 70s, which resulted in all kinds of economic disruption and stagflation and price inflation? But he was, unfortunately, the wrong guy at the wrong time. And
I don't disagree with any of what you just said. But inflation, the economy, jobs, all of these things, the price of oil, all of those were factors. But my view at that time, Roe Wade was so dominant.
I think, yeah.
So, but even though every election they have the same list, but there's always one thing. Right now, the thing that seems to have dominated has been illegal immigration.
Right.
Everybody says, yeah, let them come, but let them come legally. And nobody disagrees with that. So at that time, women were devastated by that decision. And that was dominant.
I agree. But I think what's happened since
You
2022,
agree?
in 2022,
Then I disagree.
but in 2022, which was right after when Dobbs came out, overturning Roe v. Wade, people were shocked because they're like, we're going to lose abortion rights. What happened in the following 2 years is that the states began putting referendums, I'm not sure, on their state ballots, and here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 states which had an abortion referendum on the ballot yesterday, and where the people could vote in to and expand or whatever they specific ones were relating to abortion. So in 2022, there were none of that. They couldn't do that. So I think people, particularly women, were very angry because they had no way to express their support for women's reproductive rights except to vote blue. Here, yesterday, they had a way to express their support for reproductive rights in the form of a referendum. And so that's why a bunch of these states, most of them, Missouri, Montana, Nevada, Arizona, all passed their abortion referendum, yet voted for Trump. So I think what these referendums let voters do is separate their feelings toward reproductive rights from their feelings toward candidates and parties. So that's how these states, even though it was Trump who was responsible for the loss of these rights, they still voted for him because they were able to, express and correct their.
That's also true.
And so that's why when the Republicans kept saying, all we've done is turn this back to the states, I've always thought that was a very effective argument because, no one could say, we're not taking your rights away. All we're doing is letting you decide.
Trump even muddled it further by saying he's going to make it easier. He's going to deal with the ban without saying exactly what he's going to do. So it made them think. He always gives you the feeling that I'll deal with it.
Right, the way he's going to fix the Affordable Care Act. I have a concept of a plan, right? I have a concept of a plan, which we never saw.
Wait, let me check with our producer. Where do we stand?
Yeah, a few minutes.
15.
15 minutes?
Oh. So yeah, it's I have a plan, but trust me and don't worry, I'll fix it. And to a lot of people, that's comfort enough, And he did say, whether it's true or not, that he wasn't in favor of a federal abortion ban, which, with both houses of Congress and a conservative president, you could get that, that could pass. But I actually don't think Trump's going to do that because I don't think he's really, if it were Mike Pence in office, I think he would do it because I think Mike Pence has a fundamental religious belief that abortion is wrong, and so we need to correct it. Whereas Trump, I don't believe has that. I think
when Trump says something without promising exactly how he's going to do it, like you say, conceptually, he imparts or gives the view that he's going to resolve it. He doesn't say how. And so people are very satisfied with that. And that's one of the great things about a great leader. He makes you feel, that's why so many young people follow him. He makes you feel that he's promising exactly what you want to hear, until he gets in and proves otherwise, without nailing it down to a specific action.
But I think in the case of a federal abortion ban, I don't think he gains a lot by pushing that through. He didn't promise it. All he's going to do is make the very, very far right happy. So why would he do it? I don't think he will.
He never does.
And I don't think he's going to change. I'm concerned
if
that
he lets people think that he'll do
it. Right. But will he actually do it? I don't think so.
I agree with you.
What about the Affordable Care Act? I don't think he's going to change that. We were one vote away the last time. McCain said no, and it didn't get. Otherwise, it could have been repealed or whatever they were going to do. But I don't think Trump really cares. I mean, does he really care? It's like he likes people to like him.
Yeah.
So why get rid of the Affordable Care? And he's not concerned about deficits, right? He's going to cut taxes for tips, cut taxes for Social Security. What do you think that's going to do to the deficit?
Len,
he doesn't care.
Len, I can't.
It's a popular strategy.
I can't argue.
We really better cut the show short now because we've been agreeing way too much on this episode.
I can't argue with anything that Trump does or has done or continues to do, because it works. And he's a winner overwhelmingly. So what could I say? He should drop the illegal entry of immigrants. I can't say that because it works so well for him. I can't say anything that he did wrong, because everything he did.
But I think the reason in his first term he did go after Obamacare was because he promised to do it. And so he tried and it didn't work. I think he will try to deport people, the 20 million illegal residents, because he promised to do it. But he didn't promise to repeal Obamacare. He didn't promise that he would have an abortion ban, so I don't think he's going to do it.
He throws out a lot of things, some of which people like, some of which they don't even understand. But he gives those that want to believe him an opportunity to agree, Afterwards, one of his mottos is something about something promised, not plans promised, but policies promised.
Promises made, promises delivered, or something.
Were enacted.
Yeah.
That's what he says. Just listen to what I say. Don't get into the nitty gritty. They criticize him. He's never explained one policy that will do what he says.
Yeah,
you're better off that way.
Right. Or how some of his policies have specifics, but he doesn't explain how they'll actually work. Like adding big tariffs on imports. That's pretty specific, but he's never explained how that's actually going to lower inflation. Not likely to.
No, but it says it'll help balance the budget, balance the, we're on the verge
trade deficit, yes.
We're on the verge of going bankrupt because every year the deficit is bigger and bigger. And he's saying,
Yeah, except the people paying for the deficit or the reduction are the consumers paying
Yeah.
all these big extra fees. So
A lot of what he does, people don't even realize the implications. That's his genius.
right,
But
because
they can't ever nail him.
right, because where he's been very lucky, as a returning as a change candidate who's an incumbent. I think that's only happened once in the history of our country where a president lost an election, sat out 4 years, and then came back. And usually, if you lose, you finish. We didn't see Jimmy Carter try to make a comeback after he lost to Reagan. Usually it never happens. But in this case, he's very fortunate that, and the 4 years in between, that things got worse from a individual consumer point of view, inflation, price level.
I think they got better.
World
The Democrats
disruption.
didn't.
Well, price level's higher.
job.
No, price level's higher, 20% higher today. So people think that's bad. There's more conflict in the world. Not that there wasn't when Trump was in office.
The
but
Democrats made the case that in the whole world, we have been geniuses in keeping our inflation lower than anybody else.
That is 100% statistically true, but try to tell people that when they go to the supermarket
if you repeat it
this week. No, you don't have to repeat it. No one will believe it because people know when I go to the supermarket this week and my bill is a lot more than it was when Trump was president.
Not only that
somehow that's not good. I want to go back to Trump.
Kamala is the only one that introduced a plan and a proposal to stop corporate gouging.
Right?
And that's a play they just didn't do it.
But the reason Trump doesn't have to give specifics is because he can say, "Look, I did it. I was there. I was the president. Right? Remember when I was the president?
He did nothing."
But doesn't matter because he say, "Would you rather have my nothing or her nothing?"
That's what I said from day one. In the old cowboy movies, they had the guy come around with what do they call it? A coach full of medicines, and he had a cure for everything. And to the extent they sold that, it was terrific. And that's Trump.
But Trump can say, "Trust me, because I'll do the same things I did when I was president the last time."
I know.
And remember how good that was?
Killing 1 million people.
And people will be
killing them.
And people.
He's selective,
That's right. We don't the chaos that people don't remember at the end of 2020.
I'll see. What's his name? I'll see. The head of the
Fauci.
Yeah. Poor Fauci.
Yeah.
Got beat up like it's all his fault.
No, that's the thing. I mean, do people not remember what happened in January of 2021? Do people not remember 2 impeachments? Do people not remember any of that? And the truth is they don't because it's 4 years ago. And it's like, well,
and it's also never his fault. First, it's the Chinese that exported it to this country.
Right.
Then it's Fauci, because Fauci didn't back up that they should take CN or something. Anyway, the next thing that's going to happen that's significant and it affects Trump dramatically, and the people won't object or won't have a chance to object anymore, are all the claims of criminal activity and breaking the law by Trump.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much going to go away.
That's going to end
on day one.
Next week, even before.
Oh, you think Jack Smith's going to drop it? I don't think so. I think his replacement will drop it.
It may not drop it, but it won't move ahead.
Well, yeah, but it won't be officially dismissed until the new Attorney General.
No, but Smith put in the time, and it's never going to move.
No.
He knows it's never going to move after that.
No.
Anyway, we used up all of this wonderful time with our co-hosts, our partners in crime, or partners in podcast. So I want to wish you, again, a wonderful week. Thank you for joining me. Get to read the book, even if you got to take it out of the library. Happiness Guaranteed, or your misery back. It's worthwhile. It's going to pay off. And also stay optimistic. Hope is what keeps us going. Don't let your mind force you to immerse your thoughts in negative, even as a million things to be depressed about. Immersed in negatives or failures or, just remember what I tell you, Edison told this guy who came to him, how come you never gave up after you failed 1,000 times? And he said, I never failed. He always looked at it as a journey in which each time he made some progress, even though it looked like it wasn't progress. But he said, each time on this journey, I found out what didn't work. It got me closer to what did work. Look at your life that way. Every time you move optimistically, you're getting closer to a happy ending. And not only that, even if you don't have a happy ending, you're having a happy experience because you smile and you're upbeat and you're hopeful. God bless you. I love you. Have a wonderful every day. Every day of your life should be better than the day before. I love you and I look forward to being with you again next Wednesday, 6:30. Bye.